Greetings, everybody, and welcome to this latest Forvis Mazar webinar. And we are going to talk all about Power BI today. My name is Charles Allen. I'll be your host today for this, and we look forward to talking to you. But before we do, we have a few moments of talk from Sarah. So let's get my screen shared, and we will do that. So hold on just a second and take it away, Sarah.
Thank you, Charles. So again, good morning. Thank you for participating in today's webinar, How to Get Insights from Power BI. A little about Forvis Mazar. We are an independent member of Forvis Mazar Global, a leading global professional services network. Ranked among the largest public accounting firms in the U.S., our team members are dedicated to providing an unmatched client experience through the delivery of assurance, tax, and consulting services. As part of the firm's consulting services, Business Technology Services provides analysis, design, implementation, upgrade, training, and support services for accounting and ERP systems and sales and marketing CRM systems. Our end-to-end solutions can help clients achieve their digital transformation goals. At a glance, these are the technologies Business Technology Services supports. Today, we will be focusing on Microsoft Power BI. Our presenter today is Charles. You got to meet him just a second ago. Charles is a senior manager and has more than 30 years of experience. In his experience, Charles has worked with a variety of industries and solutions. He implements, trains, and supports analytical, reporting, and planning solutions such as Solver, SQL Server reporting services, and Power BI. As a frequent contributor and speaker, Charles can be found on Forvis Mazar Foresights, LinkedIn, and at conferences such as Solver Ascend and Dynamics Communities. Again, thank you for participating in today's webinar. Now I will turn over the presentation to Charles.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. And again, thank you to everybody who is here this morning to look at Power BI and how to get insights. And some of you are here because you are just getting started on your Power BI journey. Some of you are already using Power BI probably and want more information. And some of you just may want to kill an hour and hear some information. So that's cool too. So welcome to everybody. And let's take a look at why we're all here. So we're going to talk about the insights functionality in Power BI, which is something that's pretty cool and can help uncover some information for you based on the data in your report. We'll talk certainly about AI and ad hoc reporting, and then also talk about notifications and alerts. So a lot of good stuff. And again, really the whole idea of this webinar is to not teach you how to use Power BI per se, but take advantage of some functionality that you may not even know exists and talk about how it can work for you. So here's our very high-level agenda, but we're going to focus a lot on demo and not too much on slideshow. So let's get rolling. We're going to talk about insights first. So here's a little quote I found: surrounded by data, but starved for insights. I thought that was pretty cool. And guess what? We have a polling question coming up next. So everybody drop what you're doing and get ready. Here we go. So tell us what brings you to today's webinar. We got a few choices there. And I was thinking last night, before you use Power BI, people would get data or do analysis using various tools. A lot of you, of course, use Excel or have used Excel. Some of you who go back further than Excel might have done things in Lotus 1-2-3 or some other spreadsheet. A lot of people here may, if you're old enough like me, maybe use Microsoft Access to do reporting and such. So if you feel like sharing, go ahead and share really what you think is the first tool that you used for doing analysis. And I'd be interested to see if I have any contemporaries as far as hair color and such. So let's take a moment to answer that question on the screen. And we'll see how we do. And looks like more than half of you are not using Power BI, but are interested in it. So great. And then about a third of you are using Power BI. So that's pretty cool. All right. So let's talk about insights. So insights is something that is available in the cloud, and it uses natural language. I'm sorry, we're talking about Q&A first. So Q&A, available both in the desktop and in the cloud, uses natural language. So you can say, hey, maybe not quite this, but you can say, hey, computer, tell me what products I sold the most in 2024. And then it will give you an answer. It'll actually build a visualization for you and give you that information. Certainly you can fine tune that. You can use it in dashboards. You can actually have that as a feature that users can see and use on the reports. It's available for Pro and Premium. And so Pro is the lowest level in Power BI subscriptions. So everybody here that has a Power BI tenant has at least Professional, if not Premium. Okay. And then there are other things like Fabric and things like that too. Down here, you'll see there's a screenshot, but you know what? Why don't we go take a look in Power BI and actually see how this thing is done. So let's pull up Power BI. And this is Power BI Desktop. Now this guy right here is that Q&A, but what I can do is I can delete it and then we'll re-add it. So we're gonna click on that, we're gonna remove that. So a lot of you may have reports, probably hopefully better looking than mine, but nevertheless, you have reports and you say, hey, I'd like to try this Q&A thing. So if we go over to visualizations, we have this guy here, looks like a question box. So we're gonna click on that. And then we can, of course, move it around wherever we want. And now we have Q&A. So pretty cool. And notice it even gives you some helpful advice to get started. So if we click on this one, for example, it's generating. And then there it is. So look at that. It's enterprise total by salesperson by state. And so it automatically created that report for us. And so if you don't know how to build reports or visualizations, but you know how to ask questions, then you can use this. It makes me think about, if anybody saw Star Trek 4 when they returned to the US and were trying to use a computer mouse as a microphone. It kind of reminds me of that scene. But at any rate, you can use these. And notice the underlying words here. So if I click on state, notice that it also pops up some options here. So what is its center price? That's what we have here. But then it says, hey, you can also try these items here. Now, one other thing that you may need to do is help your Q&A perform better and understand you better, okay? Because, you know, everybody in your company may ask questions a slightly different way or may think of things a little bit different way. And you don't want to have to tell them that, hey, you have to ask exactly this way to get an answer, right? You want to give people some choices. So you'll notice right here, there's a little gear icon. If I click on that gear icon, then we get this window here. And now we can really start doing some fun work. We can create synonyms. We can look at questions that people have asked, and so we can help tell it why they're not getting the results they want. We can suggest questions like the ones that popped up, and we can also teach. Q&A to understand the questions. Notice if we go here to synonyms, which we could get to from that first screen, this is where we can start adding information. So notice we have account category. We could just say, you know what, category. So I can just add category like that. And now a user could use category, or notice, hey, now we have classification. Guys, if you're like me, sometimes that word is right there on the tip of your tongue and you can't quite think of the right word, but you can think of words similar to that. So you can then say, oh yeah, grouping or class or classification. So you can add all these items as options to the user. So no matter what they pick from these synonyms, they're going to get the same information. Okay. And as we keep on scrolling down, you can see we keep on to see more of our data. Okay. And all that we just looked at, we scroll back to the top. This is under our account dimension. And then if we keep on going down, now we have customers, we have products. So if we open up our products, it says, all right, well, how would I have people ask about a product? Well, maybe they think of it as an item instead. So I could add item to my list. Maybe I just want to use the word item instead. Okay, so we can do that. So this is a really cool way where you can improve that Q&A experience for you and your users. And then if we go to relationships, you can see here how things are worked. So sometimes, you know, from your data, it doesn't make, some questions users may ask may not make sense, but you can also help create these relationships and say, hey, I want customers are in cities or customers are in states, like that. Okay, so you have all these cool things that you can create, again, all to improve. Now you'll notice we have Copilot. Now Copilot is something that you have to subscribe to, and it's not free by any stretch, and it's beyond Pro or Premium even. So if you do have Copilot, then you can use that. Now I don't have Copilot implemented, so I can't use it. But if you do, that is just one more thing that you can utilize to help your Q&A. Here's where you can start teaching Q&A, right? And you can see what the results look like. And then reviewing questions to sign in. So I can sign in to see. Now I'm the only user, so not much for me to see. And then you can also suggest questions like the ones that popped up down below. So if we close this window, again, here is where we're coming in and we can use this. So I can come over here and I can say, show me extended price by item. And there it is. So there's the extended price for items for 2021. Okay. Not exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for item. I didn't understand that. So it says, hey, what do you mean by item? So apparently I did not train that one very well. So let's come over here. I think it was dimension item. There we go. So still did not like that very much. So the idea, of course, is we go in there, we teach it, we add those items that we want, and then we'll give us our data. Okay. So again, we go back here, come to our synonyms, and we come over to our product. Let's say we do have items. I'm not sure why it did not like that. Let's add item here. And we'll go ahead and close this. Okay. And we'll say item. And we get this. Okay, sorry, user error in my case. So we need to tell exactly where that item is, and it's probably going to be in our fact table instead. There we go. But Q&A can be cool. And then you can then add this to when you publish this to your website, it will then show up on your website. So let's go over here, pull up our website. And we'll pull this over here. And here we go. So this is how it looks in the website. It's a different report, but same thing. It's our Q&A. Okay. And then over here, we got a little bit thing right there, options. And we'll talk about insights shortly. You can also share this with other people, set alerts, add comments, and spotlight this. Okay. Now you notice that you can't change the synonyms or do the Q&A setup in here. That's going to be done in Power BI Desktop. Okay. All right, so let's go back here. All right, we talked about that. So let's talk about insights instead. So insights is a little bit different than Q&A. What it does is it searches your visualizations and it gives you information based on what it sees. It only works with certain types of visualizations. As you know, Power BI has a lot of different types of visualizations they can do, but this will not use every single visualization out of the box that's available. It does require Power BI Premium, however, which, if you don't know, Power BI Premium is $20 a user versus $10 a user for Pro. So let's go take a look at that. So we're going to go back to the web. All right, and let's make sure I'm logged in as the right person. Yep, all right. So Insights allows you to get information about your data. So for that example, we have this thing called Get Insights right there. Now, what this is doing is it's saying, hey, based on this one, I really don't know what you're looking for. Okay, so let's go open up another one. And let's go find that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and publish this, save it. All right. And we're going to go here. Just put it right there. So that's publishing there. And then when it's finished, it's going to pop up some messages. And you notice we have quick insights. Okay, we're going to log in. And of course, because we're doing a demo, it's taking a moment to show us anything. Let's just go do this instead. Sorry for the weird activity here, folks. All right, let's just do this. Get insights. All right, well, looks like we're having a user issue for some reason. We'll come back to this later on during our webinar. Let's go back to our presentation though. But the idea is, as you can see on the screen, what it's going to do is it's going to pop up a window, a panel, and it's going to tell you information about your data. So you can see we're using the same report, but it's not giving us that inside information. Okay. All right, so let's do a second polling question. Synonyms can help your users with using Insights. So Insights involves the Q&A and the Insights. So go ahead and answer appropriately.
Charles, I don't know if you noticed in the Q&A, people did put in the systems they use before Excel.
Oh, great. So yeah, VisiCalc, perfect. So yeah, I used VisiCalc for a little bit before Lotus came out. And Access, yep. A lot of Lotus 1, 2, 3, a lot of Lotus Notes. That's right, forget about that. And all right, and then we have actually a question. So Christy What are the best practices for ensuring completeness and accuracy of Power BI reports and SOTS controls? Now, that is a very deep question, Christy. So I don't think I can answer it during the webinar, but I can answer it after the webinar. So I will get that information for you. And if anybody else is interested in that information, I will be happy to provide that. So again, Christy says, what are the best practices for ensuring completeness and accuracy of Power BI reports and SOTS controls? Right. It's a great question. I will get that answered for you. All right. So let's talk about ad hoc reporting. And there really are two kinds of ad hoc reporting that you can do with Power BI. And we're going to talk about those here. So one of them is using Power BI Desktop. Now, a lot of people, to me, when you look at Power BI Desktop, you can look at it two ways. You can look at it as a tool that is used by people who are report creators to create reports that are then shared with other people to use. So for example, if I come over here to here, oops, let's go to my browser instead. That's what I'm looking for. Too many windows. All right. So if I come over here, this is the desktop, of course, and let's go to the browser. Seem to have closed it. So we're going to go to app.powerbi.com. All right, and we'll go ahead and log in. And we'll go ahead and open up a report. Let's open up this guy. So as a report author, I came in and I built this report. And then I will add users to this report so that they can view it. All right. Now, in that regard, Power BI is just being used really as a means to an end to provide users a product that they can use. The other way to use Power BI Desktop, of course, is to give people a data set. You don't want to, unless you want to, what I would do is you can build a blank Power BI Desktop report. No reports on it, no visualizations. But what you do is you provide them a data set over here. And you can either create the data sets and then tell people where to go get them, or you can go one step further and then you can build a report with the data set already created. Okay. So for example, if we go ahead and we'll create a brand new one, and it's going to open up in a moment, and then we'll walk through that process. All right, so here we have a blank report. Now, what you can do is you can come over here and you can say, all right, go from a user perspective, you write an SOP for the user, and you say, go to get data, and then you tell them where to go get the data. Now, if you're going to do that, unless you want to teach users all about data modeling, what you're going to want to do is really just build the data set really probably as a single table, because then the user can just easily drag and drop fields into the report. Okay, so if we come over here, let's go to Excel. Let's just go to recent sources. And then let's do this guy here. So then I can pick sales, hit load, and then there's my data over here. Now, as a user, I can just start dragging and dropping right into the report. So I come over to sales, and obviously there's not a whole lot here, but let's do this. And let's drag product name, let's drag amount, and boom. So as a user, now I can see what I'm doing. Very easy. And all you have to do is teach users how to use the desktop to do that, how to go get data, and how to create visualizations. Okay. And then at a very simple level, anybody can do that, right? Power BI is not made to be that complicated. Now you can get complicated because then the next people may then want to start doing things like, well, what's the month to date versus year to date versus last year? And start asking those questions. Well, then that's where the DATS language comes in. And in that case, now we may have to do something more like the first step, which is creating the reports and then sharing the reports with the users. But if you do want to provide that ad hoc experience where people can just build their own reports, again, you can come over here, you can provide a blank Power BI to just say, hey, start Power BI, go get the data sets where we tell you to go get them, and you can start writing reports. Or you can provide the data sets already, and if you already have maybe some measures that you've created, such as month to date, year to date, things like that, you can put those into your data model and then let users just start creating their own reports. Okay. Now, what do they need to do this? They need Power BI Desktop. It's free. They don't have to pay anything. They just have to have access to the data. The second option is using ad hoc reporting in the cloud that we'll talk about. So let's go back to the cloud. And let's open a different report. It's got a little bit more to it. Okay. So let's go here. I'm going to open up this one here. So what you've done is you've shared a report in the cloud with the user. Okay. And the user's looking at this and they say, well, this is all well and good, but I really want something else. Okay. So now if I come over here, you'll notice this button that says Explore. And this one allows them to analyze data, or I'm sorry, not Explore, Export, sorry. And then we have Explore, which is the one I meant. Now, this is really cool. This is in preview mode, as you can see. So it's going through additional changes from Microsoft, but it's still functional. So now what I can do as a user is I can start building my own visualizations. So maybe what I want to do is I'll come over here, pick my employee, and I'm going to do employee type. So I'm going to select that. All right. And now notice what it does is it starts building a matrix and a visual. It says, all right, well, now what columns do I want? Well, if I come over here, let's make that a little bit bigger. Now I can come over here. I don't want anything from there anymore. Let's say I want my department. So I'm going to pull in my department. Okay. And now I want some data. So I'm going to come over here and we're going to find our amount paid. Put that right there. And now notice what it did is it created a matrix and it created a visualization to go along with that matrix. Okay. Now, if you come over here to this drop down arrow, which you can see and get rid of it, you can also change the type of visualization that it has. Okay, hit the down arrow. You've got all these other choices as well. Okay, now if you don't like it, you can of course change that. So maybe we want to get rid of department, and then let's come over here and let's pick something else. So let's come over to our period. Find that. There it is, period. And then let's get our calendar month. And so now we have data by calendar month. Okay, and it's showing the data there. So this is pretty cool because a user can do this all day. They can sort their data. So now it's sorting by month and backwards. We change that to sort ascending. Now the problem here you can see is it's sorting it as a number, and that there's a way you can fix that in Power BI. Okay. But just like that, a user was able to go in and build a report on an ad hoc basis using that same data set. So that's probably even easier than using Power BI Desktop for users, because then they're working with an established data set, and then all they have to do is know what data they want to pick and choose for their report. Okay, so let's say pick calendar year, we have 2027, We can break this down by date like that. So there's really all sorts of stuff a user can do, and then they can add filters at the top. Okay. And then if they like it, they can share it with other people. They can save it as a report even. So if we do that, we'll call it webinar, save. And there it is. So that's what I just created as a user. And that may be exactly what I needed. Okay. And then now what you've done is you saved IT or your whoever from having to go build this report. Okay. Or you saved the user from having to go and wait to get the information they need. Okay. So that's pretty cool. And then you'll notice up here, we still have ask a question. So the user can still come over here and do Q&A against this data set. And boom. So now I can see total hours paid by code type, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Let's say by category. So again, just asking questions, and then we can move this over here. All right, so that's ad hoc. So there are two options for ad hoc. One, like I said, is you go to Power BI desktop and you provide users a completed data set. And that way they don't have to go worry about getting data. But let's say that I have a person who is, they do sales, they do other things, they're kind of sitting above and they want to be able to really report against anything. Then just give them Power BI, tell them where the data sets are stored, and then have them go get those data sets, either by using that get data option and then tell them where to go get it. Okay. And then the other option, as we said, give them a fully baked data set, and then all they have to do is start building reports. Okay. Now, we talked about that time intelligence earlier, like month to date, year to date, compare year over year. That's where you do have to use measures. Okay. And for those of you who haven't seen that, if we come over here, and let's come over here, and we're going to just click on that. We're going to say new measure. We can also do new quick measure. And if we come over here, you can see we have things like year to date, quarter to date, month to date. And now it's saying, well, what is your base value? So we'll come over here. We're going to choose our amount. And then what is our date? Let's go to our period. And we're going to pull period end. Oh, didn't like that one. Need a hierarchy. Let's go back here. Right. Well, we won't flail around, but what we would do is we pick our date field that we want to use, and it would create a measure called year to date. Okay. All right. So you may need to build those for your users ahead of time if you think they're going to be able to or want to be able to use that sort of thing. So create as many measures as you think you need, and then provide the user the standard set of data. And then that user can then just start dragging and dropping into the report. Okay. Oh man, we have a Quattro Pro person over there. That's a good one. Never used it, but I know what it is. All right. All right. Let's go back over here. All right, so we talked about that. The ad hoc reporting allows users to examine their data the way they want to, and by creating their own visualizations. Okay, and that's a screenshot of a similar type of report that we built. So it allows the user, again, pick the fields, tell it what data they want, and it will automatically build a report for them. Okay. Hey, we have a third polling question here. The Explore feature lets users create their own reports. For those of you who are looking for more Power BI information, there's a lot of great information out there in YouTube. I'm going to recommend a couple of them that I know by name. One is Guy in a Cube, which are a couple of Microsoft folks who provide videos, usually 10 to 15 minutes long, about Power BI and Fabric and things like that. And then also SQL BI, SQLBI. If you look up them, they've got a lot of great videos and even have training courses that you can either do for free, or you can go to an on-site training and get training from them. They do a lot of DAX training. So great material that they provide for this. All right, so looks like 80% of you said true, and you are right. So let's talk about alerts and notifications. So great, I've got this report, and now I want to be able to know when the data changes. I don't want to have to come into Power BI and go look at it, right? I just want it automatically. I got this beautiful cell phone, and I want to get an alert that tells me what's going on. So alerts are going to notify you, of course. They're going to alert you, right? Just what you think. They're going to let you know when things are happening based on the conditions that you set. And you can send the results by email or by Teams. So maybe I want to alert my sales team or my product team or whatever. That's what alerts can do. So notice on the right the screenshot. So the visualization is telling you what visual we're using as our basis for our alert. And then we're setting up our condition. So here we're saying where the extended price changes, okay? And then that may be a little bit aggressive because it's hopefully going to change a lot, but nevertheless, that's what we're doing. And then it says, well, how do you want to send it? Do you want to send it by Teams or do you want to send it by email? Okay, and then you create that alert and it's going to send you the alert. Let's go back into Power BI, all right? And not the desktop, but this guy here. All right. So here we have our report. Okay. And we got all these items here. Okay. And so here, if we click on this, for example, you've got all these choices up here. Okay. One thing I do want to mention here is you have chat in Teams. You can actually chat about it immediately. So you don't have to download the report and send it to others. Okay. There's the explore option, the ask a question option we talked about earlier. Go back here. Let's make sure we're the right one. Yep. Whoops, sorry about that. All right. So notice here we have our file. We can download our data. Okay. All right. And for some reason, I am missing something here. Let's go back to our report.
Joy of live demos. Give you props for doing these so often.
Yeah, I know, really. All right, so let me pull up this guy here, a little bit more involved. All right, so here we have this guy, set alert. So I'm going to click on that, and here's the same screen we just saw. So quantity year to date. The changes, I can also do, hey, becomes greater than, less than, something like that. And then I can tell it to send it by email or by Teams, tell it who the recipient or recipients are going to be, and then create the alert. Now, if I click on show save options, I can save it in my workspace. I can give it a name, create a new item. I can give it a name, and then I can hit create. So that will create that alert. So in this case, whenever that quantity year-to-date changes, it's going to alert me, okay? But normally we think of alerts as usually meeting other kind of conditions. Now, it may be that you do have a situation where If something does change, you want to know about it. A lot of times, though, it's probably going to be one of these choices where maybe if cash gets below a level or inventory is below a level, or just depends on the situation, getting an alert based on that information. Okay. So alerts can be pretty cool. So again, if I close this, you have your report, go to set alert, and then you get that window. All right, pretty straight and easy. Now, another option you have is subscribing. So let's go to subscribe, and we can create a subscription. All right, now we can do a standard subscription or a dynamic subscription. Let's go ahead and do a standard one for now. So you can give it a name. So you notice it says page 1. Well, I got page 1 because that's the name of the page. So let's just call this sales report. All right, who are my recipients? Do I want to attach the report, or do I want to just send a message that the report has been updated? So if I want, I can go ahead and send it as a PDF. Now, you might be wanting to send things as Excel, for example, or some other format. That's where Power Query can come in. And we have a webinar from earlier this year where we actually walked through that process. So if you'd like to be able to have reports sent by email using Excel, for example, as the format, Power Automate can help you do that quite easily. Okay. But we'll go ahead and just pick that for now. We're going to send it. You notice you can send it to email, to OneDrive, or to SharePoint. So a lot of people are using SharePoint, so you can send it there. We'll go ahead and just send it to email. Here you can put in your start date, end date if you want it, how often, then come down to more options, put in your subject and all that good information, and then save it. And once you hit save, it's going to start sending that alert based on the schedule. So I remember years ago, we had a client that before Power BI came into being, they wanted a weekly sales report. And so Power BI with this subscription would be a great solution for that because that's exactly what it's made to do, right? So let's close that. And then let's look at the other options. We're going to go to set alert or subscribe, create a subscription, dynamic per recipient. So now it's a little bit more involved. So we're going to go ahead and pick this guy here and hit next. And now it's saying select the data that you want to be dynamic. Okay, so notice up here it says choose the data you want. So you can use email address, email subject. So the idea is, if we go back here, let's close this. The idea would be in our data, we might have, for example, a salesperson table. And in that table, it has their email address. So if we come over here, we don't have our salesperson in this one, but imagine again, if we had, let's say, either customer or salesperson, and we had a field called email address. Well, now we can set up that subscription to be automatic and use that email address from the salesperson to send that subscription message. Okay, so you don't have to create a lot of different subscriptions, one for each salesperson. You can create one subscription and then have the data dynamically go based on, or the alert go based on the data. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And then Power Automate just takes that to another level. But even just using that built-in feature is a really nice option. Okay, so let's see if we have one that has salespeople here. Probably not. Let's see here. All right. So let's go to try that again. So go to subscribe. All right. Notice here we actually do have one already, and notice that it is using the salesperson email address. So let's go take a look at that guy. So here we have our connection to our data, which is revenues. We have select and filter data based on our columns. So let's hit the edit. And look at there. Now we have our email address based on the data. So based on this information, it's going to send me this information here. It's going to send Fred this information there, and so on. And where did it get that? It got it from the salesperson information. Okay. All right. So it's really cool functionality that you can use to do this. So let's do next. And now if we look here, now we've got this information here. And this is how we would build it dynamically in our data. Okay. Again, we would select the fields and put them over here. Let's go back. Let's close this and let's go back into that. So I'll go to subscribe. Whoop, there it is right there. Edit. And again, we come over here. We can select our columns, select our email information, send it as a PDF, map your data, and then schedule it. So I don't have mine scheduled right now, but I could certainly turn that on. Okay. Then we can go and make it active, and next, and save and close. And now we have our subscription, and I can send now, and it's going to send me an email with this information. It's going to send me that PDF. Okay. So you've got subscriptions, which you can send to people. You have alerts, which you can have sent to people by email or Teams. Okay, if you are using Teams. And of course, the user can also subscribe. You don't have to subscribe for the user, but if you want to, you can certainly go ahead and do that. And then, as we said, you can also share the data manually. So if I'm looking at this report and I say, oh, I think Tom needs to see this, and I can come over here and go ahead and share it with him manually. All right, so let's go back to our PowerPoint. So again, we talked about standard versus dynamic. Standard sends one report. Dynamic sends a unique report based on each user. So this is another screenshot of that same thing that we just saw. Okay. Email setup. So you can see here it's coming from the salesperson email address. So you got to make sure, if you want to do this dynamically, that you have that information in the data. And then this is the email. This is an example of what you're going to get from an email. So you get the actual image, you can open the report in Power BI, and then you have the PDF attachment, which we told it to provide. All right. So we have gone 50 minutes on this topic. We do have a question here. I'm not going to see the answer immediately, but if you do have feedback or would like to be contacted about Power BI, go ahead and say yes, and we will contact you after the webinar. There is a survey. You don't have to fill it out, but if you would fill it out, we would appreciate it to let us know how it was. I know we had a few bumpy moments, but hopefully you got enough good information to make it worth your while this morning. If you do have any questions, we have a Q&A box. And don't see any questions at the moment, but we do have the outstanding one from about Power BI with SOX. We'll get that answered.
Excellent. Thank you, Charles. And I do want to call attention too. So there are related resources. So one, the presentation. Two, you can sign up for additional updates from our Insights and Automation team, which Charles is a part of. And we also have 3 articles by Charles linked in there as well. talking about Power BI, more details on what's possible. There's also a great article in there about Solver, Power BI, Management Reporter, and FRX. Speaking of, Excel, Lotus Notes, everything else. So this is a wonderful comparison of exploring the functionality of all those tools. And then we would like to invite you to Charles's last webinar of 2024, the Solver Financial Planning and Analysis, a Year in Review webinar. So that's on December 17th. It's linked in here. For anyone, looking for that extended planning and analysis reporting and also data warehouse capabilities, we encourage you to attend this webinar. You can learn a great deal about the tool's capabilities. And we hope you will join us for that future webinar. And again, thank you, Charles, and thank you to our audience for attending today's webinar.
Have a great day.